Have you ever trusted someone who seemed kind, only to discover later that their intentions were not what they appeared to be? The most dangerous individuals are often those who appear calm, helpful, or even admirable at first. They do not rush. They observe. They gather information about. They adapt their behavior to fit your expectations. And because of this, they often move unnoticed until the damage is already done. If you're ready to stop being unaware of the games played against you and start seeing the hidden patterns behind people's actions, write this in the comment below. I see the hidden truth. Let that be the awareness that makes you impossible to manipulate. Here are 12 secrets evil people don't want you to know about them. Number 1. They study your reactions before they make a move. Evil people rarely act randomly. They test you first. Small comments, subtle disrespect, minor provocations. They are watching how you respond. If you react emotionally, they learn how to control you. If you remain calm, they lose interest because you offer no easy entry point. The Stoics understood that behavior is rarely accidental. People reveal their intentions gradually, especially when those intentions are not aligned with honesty. Before any significant manipulation occurs, there is usually a period of observation. During this time, subtle tests appear. They may seem insignificant: a sarcastic comment, a slight boundary push, a dismissive remark disguised as humor. But these are not random. They are probes. They are designed to measure your response. Imagine someone making a comment that slightly undermines you in a group setting. If you react strongly, becoming defensive or emotional, they gain information. They learn that this is an area where you can be influenced. They now understand what triggers you. And once a trigger is identified, it can be used repeatedly. But if you respond with calm indifference or measured composure, the outcome changes completely. The test produces no useful data. There is no emotional reaction to exploit, no visible weakness to target. In many cases, the behavior stops because it offers no advantage. The Stoics trained themselves to recognize these early signals. They understood that the first reaction often determines the direction of future interactions. If you establish emotional control early, you reduce the likelihood of further manipulation. To apply this in real life, begin observing your own reactions. Notice when you feel the urge to respond immediately. Notice what types of comments or behaviors trigger emotional responses. These moments are not weaknesses, they are information. Once you become aware of them, you can choose how to respond instead of reacting automatically. And in doing so, you remove one of the primary tools used against you. Number 2. They rely on your need for approval. The more you need to be liked, accepted, or validated, the easier you are to manipulate. They use praise to pull you closer and criticism to control your behavior. When you detach from validation, their influence weakens instantly. The desire for approval is one of the most powerful psychological forces shaping human behavior. It is rooted in the need for belonging and acceptance. But when this need becomes excessive, it creates vulnerability, because anyone who can control your sense of approval can influence your decisions. The Stoics believed that true stability comes from internal validation, judging yourself by your own principles rather than the opinions of others. But many people rely heavily on external feedback. They seek praise as confirmation of their worth. They fear criticism as a threat to their identity. This creates a predictable pattern. When someone offers praise, they feel drawn toward that person. When someone withdraws approval or introduces criticism, they feel compelled to adjust their behavior to regain acceptance. Manipulative individuals understand this pattern instinctively. They may begin by offering consistent praise, creating a sense of connection and validation. Once that connection is established, they gradually introduce subtle criticism. The shift creates tension. You begin trying to regain the earlier approval, and in doing so, your behavior becomes influenced by their reactions. The Stoics would advise breaking this cycle by reducing dependence on external validation. This does not mean ignoring all feedback. It means evaluating it through reason rather than emotion. Ask yourself, is this criticism accurate? Does this praise reflect reality? When your sense of worth is grounded internally, praise and criticism lose their power to control you. You can accept useful feedback without becoming dependent on it. And once that dependence disappears, manipulation loses one of its strongest tools. Number 3, they fear emotionally disciplined people. Chaos is their tool. They thrive when you are angry, confused, or reactive. But when you stay calm, patient, and controlled, they cannot predict you. And what they cannot predict, they cannot control. Emotional instability creates opportunity for manipulation. When someone is overwhelmed by anger, fear, or confusion, their ability to think clearly diminishes. Decisions become reactive rather than intentional. This is the environment where manipulation thrives. The Stoics understood that emotional discipline is not about suppressing feelings, but about controlling how those feelings influence behavior. When you remain calm under pressure, you disrupt the conditions that manipulation depends on. Imagine a situation where someone attempts to provoke you into an argument. If you respond emotionally, the conversation escalates. The focus shifts away from logic and toward reaction. In this state, it becomes easier for the other person to redirect the discussion, introduce confusion, or gain control over the narrative. But if you remain composed, the dynamic changes. The emotional energy they rely on does not appear. The situation becomes difficult for them to manage because their usual strategies no longer apply. The Stoics practiced this discipline through constant self-observation. They monitored their emotional responses and trained themselves to pause before reacting. Over time, this created a stable internal state that was difficult to disturb. To apply this, begin treating your emotional reactions as signals rather than commands. When you feel anger or frustration, do not immediately act on it. Pause, observe. Ask what the situation requires, not what the emotion demands. This simple shift creates distance between feeling and action, and within that distance, control emerges. Number 4, they hide behind kindness at first. Evil rarely shows itself immediately. It often begins with generosity, attention, and support. This is not genuine, it is strategic. They build trust first, so that when they reveal their true nature, you hesitate to believe it. The Stoics understood that deception often begins with appearance. When someone intends to manipulate, they rarely start with obvious hostility. Instead, they present themselves in a way that lowers your defenses. Kindness, attention, and generosity become tools, not expressions of character, but strategies of access. Imagine meeting someone who quickly offers support, compliments, and assistance. They appear attentive and invested in your well-being. This creates a sense of trust. You begin to feel comfortable around them. You may share information or lower your guard because their behavior suggests safety, but over time, inconsistencies begin to appear. The same person who was generous becomes controlling. The same person who was supportive introduces subtle pressure. Yet, because of the initial impression, you hesitate to interpret these changes accurately. You remember the kindness. You question your own judgment. The Stoics would advise observing consistency rather than intensity. Genuine character remains stable over time. Strategic behavior often shifts once its purpose has been achieved. To protect yourself, do not rush to assign trust based on early behavior. Allow time to reveal patterns. Observe whether the kindness remains consistent without conditions or whether it changes when expectations are not met. Because what appears generous at first may reveal itself as calculated later. Number 5, they use your kindness against you. They target people who are generous, forgiving, and empathetic, not because they admire these qualities, but because they can exploit them. Without boundaries, kindness becomes a weakness in their hands. The Stoics valued kindness as a virtue, but they also warned against naivety. Kindness without judgment becomes vulnerability. It opens the door to people who recognize generosity not as something to respect, but as something to use. There are individuals who study kindness the same way others study opportunity. They look for those who forgive easily, who avoid conflict, who give repeatedly without asking for accountability. To them, these traits signal access. They understand that a kind person will often give second chances, overlook small violations, and hesitate to confront harmful behavior. Imagine someone who repeatedly asks for your time, your support, or your resources. At first, you help willingly. You want to be useful, you want to be compassionate. But over time, the requests become more frequent, more demanding, and less appreciative. When you begin to feel discomfort, you may hesitate to address it because you do not want to appear unkind. This hesitation becomes the opening they rely on. The Stoics would advise reframing kindness. True kindness does not require self-neglect. It does not mean tolerating behavior that undermines your well-being. It is possible to be generous while maintaining boundaries. In fact, boundaries protect kindness by ensuring it is not exploited. To apply this, begin observing how your kindness is received. Is it appreciated and respected, or is it expected and expanded without acknowledgement? Do people adjust their behavior when you set limits, or do they push against them? These responses reveal whether your kindness is being valued or used. The Stoics believed that a wise person gives thoughtfully, not automatically. They help when it aligns with reason, not when it is demanded through pressure. When you combine kindness with discernment, it remains a strength. Without that discernment, it becomes a tool others can use against you. Number 6. They avoid direct confrontation when possible. Direct conflict exposes intention. Instead, they operate through subtlety, gossip, manipulation, and indirect actions. This allows them to maintain a clean image while causing damage quietly. The Stoics understood that not all conflict is visible. Some of the most harmful actions occur indirectly, where accountability becomes difficult. A person who intends harm but wishes to preserve their image will rarely act openly. Instead, they move through implication, suggestion, and influence. Imagine someone who never criticizes you directly, but speaks negatively about you to others. They create doubt without confrontation. Or someone who subtly undermines your work by introducing small uncertainties rather than clear opposition. These actions are difficult to address because they lack direct evidence. When confronted, the person can deny intention. They can claim misunderstanding. This ambiguity protects them. The Stoics would advise paying attention to patterns rather than isolated events. If confusion, tension, or misunderstanding consistently follows interactions with a particular person, there is likely a source. Even if it is not immediately visible, the pattern itself provides information. Direct confrontation often forces clarity, but manipulative individuals avoid it because clarity removes their advantage. They rely on uncertainty to maintain influence. Silence and observation become powerful tools in these situations. Instead of reacting to each indirect action, you watch for repetition. You adjust your level of trust accordingly. You limit exposure to situations where their influence can operate. Over time, this reduces their ability to affect your environment. The Stoics believed that not every battle requires direct engagement. Sometimes the most effective response is strategic withdrawal, removing yourself from the conditions where manipulation thrives. Number 7. They create confusion to gain control. If you are confused, you are easier to influence. They contradict themselves, shift narratives, and blur the truth. This forces you to question your own judgment, giving them the advantage. Clarity is one of the most powerful defenses a person can have. It allows you to make decisions based on reality rather than perception. This is why confusion is such a valuable tool for manipulation. When your understanding becomes unstable, your confidence weakens. And when your confidence weakens, you begin looking outward for guidance, even if that guidance comes from the person creating the confusion. The Stoics recognize this pattern in various forms. A person may say one thing in one moment and contradict it in another. They may reinterpret past events in ways that shift responsibility. They may introduce subtle distortions that make you question your memory or perception. Over time, these inconsistencies create uncertainty. Imagine a situation where someone repeatedly changes their explanation of an event. Each version sounds plausible, but they do not align perfectly. When you question the inconsistency, they may respond by suggesting you misunderstood or misremembered. Gradually, you begin doubting your own interpretation. This is the advantage they seek. The Stoics would advise grounding yourself in observation. Keep track of patterns. Notice when statements change without clear reason. Pay attention to how often confusion follows interaction. Instead of trying to resolve every inconsistency immediately, step back and evaluate the overall pattern. Clarity often emerges when you observe from a distance rather than reacting within the moment. When you maintain confidence in your own perception, confusion loses its effectiveness. Number 8. They test your boundaries repeatedly. They start small, ignoring a request, pushing a limit, crossing a line slightly. If you tolerate it, they go further. Boundaries that are not enforced are seen as invitations. Boundaries define the limits of acceptable behavior. They communicate what you will and will not tolerate. The Stoics believe that boundaries are not merely external rules, they are reflections of self-respect. But boundaries only function when they are enforced. Without enforcement, they become suggestions rather than limits. Manipulative individuals understand this. They rarely violate boundaries dramatically at first. Instead, they test them gradually. A small request that exceeds your comfort, a slight disregard for your time, a minor intrusion into your space. Each action is designed to measure your response. If you ignore it, they interpret that as permission. If you accept it reluctantly, they interpret that as flexibility. Over time, the behavior escalates. What began as a small violation becomes a pattern of disregard. Imagine telling someone you are unavailable at a certain time, yet they continue to contact you repeatedly. If you respond each time, even with frustration, the behavior continues. But if you maintain your boundary consistently, the pattern changes. The Stoics believe that consistency in enforcing boundaries is more important than intensity. You do not need to react aggressively. You need to respond predictably. Each time a boundary is tested, your response should remain aligned with your stated limit. This creates clarity. Others learn what is acceptable and what is not. When boundaries are clear and consistently enforced, manipulation becomes more difficult because there is no uncertainty to exploit. Number 9. They depend on your silence in the wrong moments. They hope you will ignore red flags, excuse bad behavior, and avoid confrontation. Your silence allows their behavior to continue unchecked. The Stoics made a critical distinction between disciplined silence and passive silence. Disciplined silence is chosen, it is strategic, intentional, and controlled. Passive silence, however, is avoidance. It comes from discomfort, fear, or the desire to maintain temporary peace at the cost of long-term stability. Manipulative individuals rely heavily on this second form. They do not need you to agree with them. They only need you to remain quiet when something is wrong. Because silence, when it protects harmful behavior, becomes permission. Imagine noticing a pattern of disrespect, small comments, dismissive actions, subtle violations of your boundaries. Each instance may seem too minor to address. You tell yourself it is not worth the conflict. You choose silence. But with each unaddressed moment, the pattern strengthens. The behavior becomes normalized. And eventually, what once felt unacceptable begins to feel inevitable. The Stoics would advise recognizing when silence serves you and when it works against you. If silence protects your composure and allows you to observe, it is strength. But if silence allows repeated harm to continue, it becomes complicity. This does not mean reacting emotionally or creating unnecessary conflict. It means addressing behavior calmly and directly when necessary. A simple, clear statement is often enough. That is not acceptable. I do not agree with that. I will not participate in this. These responses are not aggressive. They are precise. They establish clarity without escalating tension. The key is timing. The longer harmful behavior goes unaddressed, the more difficult it becomes to correct. Early clarity prevents deeper problems. The Stoics believed that courage in small moments prevents suffering in larger ones. Number 10. They resent your growth. As you become stronger, more aware, and more independent, they begin to lose influence over you. Your growth threatens their control, and they may respond with subtle hostility. Growth changes relationships. When you develop discipline, clarity, and independence, your behavior shifts. You make different decisions. You set clearer boundaries. You require less external validation. These changes affect how others interact with you. For those who respect growth, this transformation is welcomed. But for those who benefited from your previous state, your uncertainty, your availability, your willingness to tolerate more, the change becomes threatening. The Stoics understood that not all resistance appears openly. It often emerges subtly, a shift in tone, a reduction in support, small remarks that question your direction. These reactions are not always conscious. They may come from discomfort rather than deliberate intention. But the effect remains the same. Pressure to return to your previous state. Imagine improving your habits, becoming more disciplined with your time, more selective with your commitments. Someone who was accustomed to your constant availability may begin to react. They may say you have changed, that you are distant, that you are no longer the same. While these statements may sound emotional, they often reflect a loss of access. The Stoics would advise recognizing this pattern without resentment. Growth naturally creates distance from those who are not aligned with it. This is not a failure, it is a consequence of change. To maintain your direction, you must remain consistent in your new standards. Do not adjust your progress to preserve comfort for others. Those who value your development will adapt. Those who do not may fall away. And this separation, while sometimes uncomfortable, creates space for healthier connections to form. Number 11. They cannot control someone who is self-aware. When you understand your triggers, your weaknesses, and your values, you become difficult to manipulate. Self-awareness removes their leverage. Self-awareness is one of the most powerful forms of protection a person can develop. It is the ability to observe your own thoughts, emotions, and patterns without distortion. The Stoics practiced this continuously. They examined their reactions, questioned their assumptions, and refined their understanding of themselves. Manipulation depends on blind spots. It relies on emotional triggers that operate unconsciously. When someone knows how to provoke your anger, your insecurity, or your desire for approval, they gain influence. But when you become aware of these triggers, their power diminishes. Imagine recognizing that criticism triggers a strong emotional response in you. Without awareness, you may react defensively each time it occurs. But with awareness, you can pause. You can separate the emotion from the situation. You can evaluate whether the criticism is valid or irrelevant. This pause removes the automatic reaction that manipulation depends on. The Stoics believed that self-awareness creates freedom. When you understand your patterns, you are no longer controlled by them. You can choose your response instead of repeating it. This choice disrupts predictable behavior, and unpredictability makes manipulation difficult. To develop self-awareness, observe yourself as you would observe another person. Notice what situations create strong emotional reactions. Notice what patterns repeat in your decisions. Ask yourself why certain behaviors occur. Over time, this practice reveals the mechanisms behind your responses. And once those mechanisms are visible, they can be adjusted. Number 12. They lose power the moment you see clearly. Their greatest advantage is deception. Once you recognize their patterns, their influence weakens. awareness is the beginning of freedom. The Stoics believed that ignorance is the foundation of most suffering. Not ignorance in the sense of lack of knowledge, but ignorance of patterns. Patterns in behavior, in relationships, in decision-making. When something harmful remains unseen, it operates freely. It influences outcomes without resistance. But the moment it is recognized, its power changes. Imagine realizing that a person consistently creates confusion in your interactions. Before awareness, you may have tried to resolve each situation individually, believing each issue was separate. But once you recognize the pattern, your perspective shifts. You stop focusing on isolated events and begin understanding the underlying behavior. This clarity allows you to adjust your response. You become less reactive, less engaged in the cycle, and as your behavior changes, their influence decreases. The Stoics saw awareness as a form of liberation. It does not require confrontation or conflict. It requires understanding. Once you understand how something operates, you no longer interact with it blindly. You make decisions based on clarity rather than assumption. This shift is quiet but powerful. It does not need to be announced. It is reflected in your behavior, in what you tolerate, what you engage with, and what you choose to leave behind. Over time, this awareness reshapes your environment. Harmful patterns lose access. Healthier patterns take their place, and the influence of those who rely on deception fades naturally. Evil depends on confusion, reaction, and blind trust. When you replace these with clarity, discipline, and awareness, you remove its foundation. You do not need to fight evil loudly. You simply need to see it clearly. The Stoics believe that strength is not always expressed through confrontation. Often, it is expressed through understanding. When you see clearly, you act differently. You react less, you observe more, you choose your interactions with intention rather than impulse. This quiet shift changes everything. Situations that once felt overwhelming become manageable because you understand their structure. People who once influenced your emotions lose their effect because you recognize their patterns. You do not need to control them. You only need to control your response, and in that control, their power dissolves. Over time, this clarity creates a form of stability that cannot be easily disrupted. You are not surprised by behavior you understand. You are not manipulated by patterns you recognize. You move through situations with awareness rather than assumption, and that awareness becomes your strongest defense. Say this to yourself: I cannot be controlled.